good morning, Fiberifians. I'm just going to pop the chat back up because when I click start, the chat disappears every time. So, welcome to another day in the dye shed. You guys have to remember that I don't have much control over the sound. We've got pots noise, we've got birds, we've got the chickens. I'm sure the dogs are going to, you know, let me know they exist because they always do. I was running around double checking everything worked just because I've forgotten to do the chat test and you guys were all busy, and then I got sucked into reading what you were saying. And I've gone back into the kitchen and I realised, when you put a bucket of water in the kitchen sink to fill up, even with the sink open, the bucket creates its own plug and it was all full. So not too bad. Luckily it drains mostly into the other sink and it just had a little bit of tidying to do. Just a little bit of tidying. So I appreciate you waiting around for a few minutes while I just threw towels at water. I'm having a great day. It's one of those days where things are happening, but they're not bad. Like, they're not like catastrophic, which is really nice. So good morning to everybody in the chat. There looks like there's lots of people in here. Do you guys like the dye stream, do you? It seems that is what I'm hearing. Kim's got an ad, yay! So I've noticed that some people aren't getting ads and some people are, and basically the income that I get from these videos is from those ads. Oops, hang on, I forgot to mute my phone and I can hear myself talking. Don't like that. Let's fix that up. Sorry, I just have my phone running with the stream on it, so if someone says, oh, you know, it's frozen, I can double check if it's like all of us are frozen or if it's just that poor person. Also, the advantage is I can read it easier. I can read the chat easier. Now, something for you to remember if you're watching this back as a live chat is, if you come straight in, it may not be here. If you just missed it by a few minutes, there'll be stuff not here. It'll be like, oh, it should be here, and you just get the timey whirl of nothing. You need to wait. What happens is we finish the chat, and YouTube go through and process everything to make sure I haven't broken any rules and things like that, to work, you know, to work out all their magic on their end, and that takes a little bit of time. Now, the other thing that happens sometimes is when you're watching the chat, you're not seeing all the comments. So what you need to do is when you scroll down to see where it says live chat, it says live chat replay, it will have top comments, and then you can click the little down arrow next to that and click that, and just double check you're getting the one where you get the all comments option. It's got a different name, I can't remember what it is, but check the other option. It always just gives you the top comments, like naturally, which is annoying, as default, not naturally. But yeah, so can you guys all hear me and you can see me and all that sort of stuff? I got 3 very noisy heat pan things going on here. We're still just getting this water up to temperature. So yeah, live chat instead of top chat. Thank you very much, Kim. That's exactly what it is. Kim's also reminding people to hit that thumbs up, so yes please. There is a lag. Yeah, there's always a lag. Where are we? Good morning, Leanne. Good morning, Crafty Crafter. So Nerdy Crafter has changed her name, you guys. She's sneaky, to Crafty Crafter, which I love. I love both names, so I'm okay with that. Allison has made it into the chat. Fantastic. And everyone can see me and hear me, so yay! So basically all that's in these pots so far is water, straight old tap water, straight out of the tap. Hang on, I just need to, oh, did someone, I got a, excellent. So thank you for that as well, Crochet Clock. If you're not subscribed to this channel, I'm so close to 2,000 subscribers. I try not to focus on the numbers, guys. I really try not to, but 2,000 is such a nice round number, and you guys know how I feel about round numbers. So when I hit that 2,000, I'm going to give away some yarn on the next video. So, you know, whoever is in the chat or something for the next week can score something cool and free. It's been a while since we've done a freebie. So, yeah, it's so close. And I do know that over 60% of my viewers are not subscribed. So if you could please subscribe, that would be great. Leanne says, my feed is a little lip sync, but picture is perfect. Is anyone else having problems with that? I hope not. I mean, I am a bit further away from my microphone than usual just because it's on the other side of the pots and I can't get it any closer. Oh yeah, and unsubscribing and resubscribing does not help. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Dear. Crafty's going to check on her brownies. Awesome, lovely. Excellent. Some people are buffering, some people are having no issues, and some people are really hungry. I'm really hungry. It's going to be a really hard chat today, you guys, because I only had a little bit of toast about 3 hours ago. So my tummy is already going, hello, do you remember I exist? You can't win giveaways if you aren't a subscriber. I do try to make sure that rule is true, but sometimes it's a bit awkward. Orcs. Alright, so dyeing stuff. We have a plan. You guys know I like to start out with one project in particular that I want to dye, and then we go forward from there. So I'm going to be pattern testing a gorgeous new sweater pattern for Addy Day Designs. I've never crocheted myself a proper sweater. I've done a cardigan thing, which is one of Jenny King's, which I love it, and it has like this big button on it, but it's an open cardigan. And I've crocheted heaps of little like cover tops in crochet that are really open and meshy. But this is like a full-on proper keep you warm sweater. So I don't have enough yarn to make it, as usual, because I buy, like you guys do, I buy everything in 2s and 3s. I don't buy sweater quantities of anything, because I don't make sweaters. So I need a sweater quantity for this. And what I've decided to do is I want to make it in the lake. So those of you that haven't seen it, there's a new colorway, you're about to see it. It's called Lake. It's a beautiful color. It's like a tealy, it's a soft tealy color, but it's got some nice depth to it, which I really like. So I'm going to be doing that, but then I'm going to grab out 3 or 4 of the skeins at the end and actually speckle those. So they'll be dyed in Lake first and then speckled, because the pattern is different at the top than at the bottom. So I want to speckle, just a little gentle speckle, nothing too scary, but I want to speckle the top a little and have the bottom as is. So is my custom on your plan list? Not today, Kim. Your custom needs all my brains, and yeah, so that one's not on the list for today, but it will be on, like, it's not on the list for now on this live chat, but it's on the list for later on today. Hopefully I'll get to it. Semi-solid for the win. Yes, it is. Leanne says, I've just had toast and coffee, so you have my full attention and an empty house. You are very lucky. Andrea says, every time I crochet clothing for me, I hate it and end up giving it away. Oh no, don't say that. I hope I really like it. You know, my mum would wear anything I made, so yeah. Kim says there's 42 people watching and 28 likes, and I agree. Smash that like button. Crafty's made beef and beans chili for dinner. Oh, I love beef and beans chili. So these are nearly at temperature. They're not quite yet, but we need to move on. So what needs to happen is acid dyeing that we're doing. So we need to create an acid base for our dye. We've got about 13 or 14 litres, I can't remember exactly, but they're all the same in each pot. These are 20-litre pots, guys. I don't do quarts and I don't do fluid ounces and stuff. I'm sorry. I'm totally a metric girl. I can convert some yards to meters, but that's as far as I go. So we need to get in a tablespoon of citric acid into each pot, otherwise the dye will not strike. There are some dye companies that mix citric acid into their dyes. I'm using Jacquard dyes, and they are a powder dye. They do not mix the citric acid in. So if you do not add your acid, your yarn will not colour set. So keep that in mind. Landscapes add citric acid, but I personally don't think enough, so I still add citric acid. Sorry, I'm not sure if you can see all 3 cameras here, all 3 pots. I know you can definitely see this one. I've even got its own special pot light. I have it attached with a rubber band to my webcam so that it shines through. Anyway, I will take a photo of that for later, because, you know, we're crafters. We don't need the U-Butte special techie gear. We've got yarn and elastic bands. So I also am using, so what I've done, which is quite funny, 2 elastic bands and put them together to make the cross, and then brought it around and used a quilting clip to clip it together. Bulldog clip would have worked, but you know. Poppycock says mine always come out small. I tend to make mine too big. So yeah, because I'm like, I am enormous. I shall make the largest possible size. Here we go. I'm logging in under my Yarny name. Be back. Okay, Maharat. Sally says, I've just started my second blurred lines sweater. I haven't made the blurred lines yet, but I was looking at it and I really like it. But I wanted something that was a little less fitted. And the blurred line really suits being fitted, so I'm really looking forward to this new one. Kim says, so this is more suited for a semi-solid rather than the variegated. Oh, totally. Totally. In saying that, I saw a beautiful, beautiful sweater that Jen Homewood's mum made, Denise, that she made out of it was the sea glass. So it was the underdyed grey with the blue and the green and black over it, and she made a sweater out of that. And because of how we're doing those variegateds, they're very short, so it actually has really lovely movement, woo, throughout the actual sweater, which is nice. But for me personally, I don't like to stand out in a crowd. I like to blend in as best possible. So I personally would definitely go a semi-solid, and I'm even stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit by adding a few little speckles to some. So we'll see how that goes. All 3 pots are in perfect view. Fantastic. Cindy says citric acid like you can with. Citric acid it's a food grade citric acid. I'm not quite sure what your question is there, Cindy, but I buy my food grade citric acid in like a 20 kilo bucket and just move it into a smaller, you know, airtight thing, so I'm not dealing with the big bucket all the time. But it's totally food grade. You can buy it at the supermarket if you want. Works out ridiculously expensive for those little tiny pots, and you just go through it like so fast, especially a tablespoon at a time. I highly recommend hitting your local ag store. Like ag farmers use it a lot, so you can buy it in like kilo bags from there. Or I actually get this online from it's like a big makeup or beauty care place in the big buckets. So have a look for citric acid. But yeah, it's totally the food grade citric acid. You don't even want to see my rig, Chantel. I'm sure yours is way better than mine. I don't know. You can't see mine. Because all my gear is still packed because Fiberific is still homeless. All my lighting and all my good YouTube stuff is packed away. I'm currently using a laptop here, which I normally always do. So this is actually quite similar for a normal live stream, but I'm using my craft lamp for lighting. I'm using a little light here so you can see my hand is I'm using my good audio because it's little, so I've got it left out. But everything else is packed up, so it's all whatever, what's handy, what can I use? So that's what I'm doing. And you know what, you guys, you totally can make any video with a phone. You know, our phone now, the cameras in our phone, oops, it's warn the new people, I changed the temperature with my fat tummy. So if you hear the beep, it's just me changing the temperature, it's fine. But the cameras we have in our phones are actually better than what they film Star Wars with. So, you know, if you've got a phone, you can film anything. I was referring to the dyeing style is for doing semi-solids. Oh yeah, I prefer pot dyeing for semi-solids for sure. Have you ever dyed self-striping yarn for socks? No, I mean, I've done something similar. It's a lot of work to do self-striping yarn for socks. It's not my strength. There are some wonderful, wonderful dyers out there who do a fantastic job. And so I honestly believe they can have it. I've tried to do it and I succeeded, but it was so much effort and so much work that I just thought, you know what, I'm going to stick with the things I actually really enjoy. You've got to knit it into a blank first or make mini skeins first, and all of those processes take time. because you want to make sure the dye doesn't bleed except where you control bleed it. So if any of you have seen my long color repeat for the Rainbow Mystery Lace Club, that is a similar style of how you would do self-striping socks. But yeah, it's not really my sort of thing. Yeah, you can use for canning and oh, I've missed something here, haven't I? Like, yeah, you can totally do the preserve jar, but see guys, I tend to dye on large scale. So if I'm not dyeing 300 or 400 grams at a time, it's not really feasible for me to do it from a business perspective. I'll have a play for myself and doing it in fun and social, and I would totally recommend you guys do it, because my very first rainbow yarn, I actually I worked out a little formula to do a triangle shawl, and I wanted all the stripes to be a similar width. I didn't want it to be like the big one at the top and a little one and a little one. So I worked out a little formula, and then I tied them into little sections and kept them all skeined together, and it was such a nightmare to undo, but it dyed beautifully. And then once it finally wound into a ball, it was gorgeous to use, but that was a lot of work. Warn the new people. Yeah, totally, because there's so many new faces in the live chat. It's so wonderful to see. Not that I'm bagging out the old people, not that you're old, but previous watchers. I don't know how to describe this. You've put me on the spot now. Maximum Yarnage says, so smart though, I love this live streaming for yarn dyeing. Oh, thank you. Is that you, is that you, Maharat, as your yarn self? I'm not sure. Kim Nelson says, quick break with the dentist so I can come in. Hi, have fun at the dentist. Well, fun, sorry. You know, as much fun as you can. A bug jumped in my water. It's dead now. My first time I used food colouring, so did I. My very first dyeing was using Pillarbox red food colouring. I dyed it was a spinning project for me, and I had dyed some merino, some silk and some angora that I was going to blend together on hand cards, and I knit myself up a beautiful little cow, and I still have it, and it's still bright red. So hi Tina, welcome to the chat. Okay, all right you guys, so I'm starting to sorry, I didn't get the pots on as early as I would have liked, because, you know, school runs and what have you. So they're just taking a bit longer than usual, but I do have my teal dye is mixed up, and it's ready to go into the pot. We've got the citric acid in. I'm just starting to notice some steam, so these guys are nearly ready. The trick is you do not want rolling, boiling water. If you put yarn into that or wool into that, it's going to shock it and you're going to full it. And that's when it starts getting coarse and hard to use. Like, lightly fulled is still totally usable, but it changes the characteristics of the yarn, and I personally don't like it. So I try to be very careful. I've currently got my pot set at 80 degrees. I'd go up to 100 while I'm while I'm warming the water, but I don't go above 80 while I've actually got yarn in the pots. It's totally individual. Everyone can dye things however they want. It's your yarn, you dye it your way, and this is what I personally prefer to do, just to make sure, because as you know, I get sidetracked, and I might, like, normally not so much in a live stream, but I might walk off and get sucked into another job for 2 hours and then come out and realize I've had wool rolling in water because it's set to 100. It's useless. It's felted and it's horrid, and it's just a total waste. So I keep it at 80 so that it doesn't happen. So even if it sits in there for longer, it's not totally happy, but it's not ruined. Dye says I have to enter something first. What is it? I'm not quite sure what that is. Yeah, taking long because it is freezing. It's so cold this morning. Once I got moving around, I had to take my jumper off because I was getting too hot, but I'm trying to make sure I don't cool down too much because it's only about 10 degrees out here at the moment. Where are we going? Everyone's using Wilton's colours. How do you highlight the name? Okay, so if you want to highlight someone's name in the chat to make sure they see it, you type the @ symbol first, you know, the A, and then start typing their name. YouTube automatically starts giving you a list of those people, and you hit enter and it will highlight the name. What yarn are you starting out with in white? So I don't actually use white yarn. White yarn is already bleached, and if I can avoid that, I will, because it changes your color depth. And also, depending on the dyes you use, having it pre-bleached sometimes totally changes how things work. So test. Sorry, there's a chicken walking through. Hi, chicken. It's like, I tell them, I'm live streaming, don't come on the back patio, but they totally ignore me. I don't know what it is. So I'm using some of my DK Andromeda, which is 100% wool. It's a 23 or 24 micron. Sounds coarse, totally isn't, because of how it's been spun and washed and treated. And they're 100 gram skeins, and they're undyed, so they're actually like a creamy color. They're all wet at the moment, so I can't bring one up. Update the dentist chair, no longer using earbuds, as everyone wanted to hear and started to gather an audience. Oh wow, that's fun at the dentist. So everyone's highlighting Daigo to test it out. Good job, you guys. It only works, you've got dye rather than Daigo, and those people, if you use it, you don't see it. Only the person whose name it is will see the highlight. So yeah, chickens are totally rude. Totally rude. Alright, it's time to get some dye in this acid water. It's not strong acid, you can still put your hands in it. You know, we're just creating an acid base, we're not creating hydrochloric acid. So don't panic too much. Now, some safety tips. Safety is when you're mixing these dyes, whether they are natural or not, dyes are toxic. You do have to make sure, if you have the dry powder directly from the jars, whether it's the big crystallized dyes or what have you. I thought I muted that. I'm just muting it. Sorry, whether you have the big crystallized dyes or the fine powder dye, go away. Or the fine powder dyes like what I use, you need a breathing mask. If you breathe this stuff in, it is so bad for you. You do not want to breathe it in because it's terrible. Oh, good point. Sorry, I'm just going to pause for a second. Kim is going to be leaving our chat and we will have no moderator. Who would like to moderate? I'm thinking old guard girls, so those guys that have been here for quite a few chats I'd prefer. So yeah, so maybe like 1 or 2 new moderators. I'd love to. So if you want to put your hand up to be a moderator, I'll totally give you a spanner. Crochet clock, fantastic. Can I just click you here? Hang on, I've got a mouse in my hand. Add moderator. Crochet clock is now a moderator. Thank you. And one more would be awesome if you wouldn't mind. Thank you, Kim, for reminding me. I totally forgot. So let me know if you want to be a moderator. Crochet clock should start being able to moderate soon, so you can put in links and what have you. So sorry, back to the safety first. Jackie Doyle, is that a hand up? Let's Jackie Doyle can be the other moderator for now. Add moderator. Jackie Doyle is a moderator. Thank you guys, I really appreciate that. So yeah, so just, you know, keep people being friendly. Don't if Freaky Geek comes in, I don't think Freaky Geek's coming today, but if Freaky Geek comes in, they're pretty harmless. They're just a bit cheeky, so we tend to let them stir the pot as such. So anyway, safety. Make sure you mix your dyes with a mask. If you're going to be touching the yarn a lot, wear gloves because it stains your hands. I personally don't know if there's any health risks to that. I'm sure it's not ideal, but yeah, top tip, please, when you're mixing your dyes before they are liquid, put your mask on. Make sure it's a decent mask. It doesn't have to be a full respirator job, but just something decent, just so you're not breathing those little tiny particles of toxic things into your lungs. All right, coffee time. Alrighty. I didn't grab a little jug. I'll just be over here grabbing a little jug. Alright, so in my I got a big jug and a little jug. For some reason, right then, big jug, little jug. I just thought of Bob the Builder with big fish, little fish. I'm sorry, that totally was in my head. I'm just giving it another quick stir because I'd hate for one to come out a lot darker than the rest. So I'm just giving it a whisk up. It's already been whisked, it was mixed in hot water. And I've got my mix of dyes in here. So I've mixed powdered dyes to get it what I want. There's about 600 mils, so I want about 200 mils. Hang on, I need to see the mil side. 200 mils into each. There we go, there's 200 mils left in there. Make sure that the dye isn't wasted. Okay. And then, I know that's very dark for you guys in there now. It'll change once I toss the dye in. The camera is not coping, but it's very pretty, very kind of tealish. And now we've got our yarn. Do I have my bottle of stuff? I do. Hang on, guys. Okay, so how I prepare the yarn. Where are my gloves? I don't wear gloves when I'm doing this kind of dyeing. Because I barely touch anything. I'm living on the edge. No, I just don't really. Everything's on hangers and I use spoons. So, and it's also really diluted. It looks dark in the pots, but once the yarn goes in, you'll see we're doing a soft colour. So I use this delicate wash in my soak buckets. So it just opens up the fibres, cleans off any hand oils and what have you, so the dye goes through it nicely. I find it to be a really nice natural product. It's available on my website, or heaps of people in Australia stock it. It's just really, really, really good. Go away, chicken. Sorry. So I've just got about 5 or 10 mil in a 9 litre bucket. And there's about 10 skeins of 100 grams of yarn in each bucket. But you work out what works for you, okay? So it's one of those things that you just have to trial and error. And those of you that are new, I don't give you my exact dye recipes because I give away all the other information. Any other questions I will totally answer. But when it comes to mixing the dyes, I say play and have fun and come up with colours you love. So, and also different amounts of this will change how your colour comes out on the fibre, and you may like it to be different. Dye the chickens. No, I'm not going to dye my chickens. I have to give them an acid wash first, and they don't like being hot. Excuse me, this is not a chicken party. Go somewhere else. All of you, terrorists, noisy chickens. I'm just grabbing the yarn. Okay, so I have 3 skeins of 100 grams in each skein. Chickens. They've been soaked for about an hour or so. You guys yelling at the chickens. Sorry about the chickens, guys. It's the downside of me having chickens and getting fresh eggs, is that you guys have to deal with the chickens. Alright, so in each pot, I'm going to put 300 grams. I've got them tied off with little cable ties so I can dig them out easily. And in they go. Okay, I'll get the next 3. Seriously, go away. They're standing up on top of the bucket where their food is kept. I wonder if I send my husband a message if I find out he didn't actually feed them this morning. And so now they're hanging out. We've got like a big galvanized steel tin that we put the big bags of chook food in. So next 3, in they go. Now I just do this to sort of make sure they do get covered fairly evenly. Oh, they're off. Something exciting's happening out in the yard. They're bolted. Alright, this is the last batch into the buckets. Pots. They're pots, Chantel. They're not buckets. Alright, hang on, that's caught. So, all loose, and in it goes. And then I've got my spiky stick. I don't know what it is. It's like a pasta thing I picked up from an op shop. And I just give them a little zhuzh around so that they don't sit on the bottom too much. Sometimes the dye ends up down the bottom and you end up with like a big splodge of horror on your thing. There we go. They're in. They are in and cooking. So there's 900 grams right there waiting to become a jumper for me. Selfish, much, yes, and I will totally be doing more of it because I love it so much. That colour is not showing up at all. I'm going to see if I can adjust this just a smidge for you guys, so bear with my big nose hanging into the corner there, because that colour is totally wrong. It's totally wrong, and you know, where are we? Hang on, everything's so tiny. Brightness. Oh wow, that's what you want to see, the top of my head. Good job, Chantel. No, I can't get it. I'm sorry, guys. It's not gonna be friendly with us. I'll try and hold up one so you can see it on this camera. It might give you a better shot. So let me find a little handle. There's a handle. So we're going for this kind of colour. Oh, when you pull it out of the pot, that's a lot closer. It's more greeny than that blue, if that makes sense. Yeah, the cameras are not doing this justice at all. I'll have to find another way to show you. I've probably got a skein inside of it already dyed and dried that I could show you. Hang on, I'll just pop the chat back up. For new viewers, Chantel has her own language. You'll adopt and learn quickly. Before you know it, you'll be using her language too. Yeah, sorry guys. I do tend to just name stuff whatevers and go from there. You'll be pleased, No Grey Show. Thank you. I appreciate that. I pay a lot of money to make sure No Grey Show. Where are we? Someone's asked a question about the skeins. Is there ever a tangling issue while dyeing? So, generally I try not to, but sometimes it happens. So when I skein the yarn, because my yarn comes on these massive cones, when I skein it up, I put 4 ties in. So, but sometimes stuff happens. It's happened before where the ties are snapped because I was too rough with stuff in the pot, and I don't use yarn ties, I use thin cotton ties, which is on me. It's just because I have cones and cones of this cottony stuff that I've never used, and I'm trying to use it up. So yeah, so really need to make sure that they're tied off loosely, but a lot. Because you don't want it tied tight, you end up with little white sections of dye. They create resist, like when you're tie-dyeing and put rubber bands in. So you want them nice and loose. So if your skeins this round, you want your ties to come out either side of it. So you're just making it so they can't move around too much. But yeah, I'll do a video on how I do ties one day. How does it come out speckled? So Kerry, this particular step doesn't speckle. This particular step creates the semi-solid base. So these guys just need to sit in here for a few minutes, and then what I'll do is I'll grab another pan to bring over and get some gloves on and show you how I speckle, because I'm going to speckle 3 of these. I'm going to leave 6 as they are and lightly speckle. I'm not going to go hardcore. I'm going to lightly speckle 3 of them just to create a bit of interest for the sort of top part of the body of my sweater. So yeah, so there's each different way that color is applied to your yarn quite often is a totally different dye method. So what we're doing here now is technically called kettle dyeing. We've got a big thing of water with these will come out as semi-solid because I don't put heaps of dye in. I make it weak because I love that movement of color in a semi-solid yarn. It's a personal preference, and so that's how I dye. I love a nice semi-solid, but every now and again I want to change it up, and I will make a semi-solid variegated, like the things like the marble colors like Barton and Colson and all those guys, where they're done in a similar method, but I use a weaker dye solution, pull it out, toss in a whole nother color, and then put the yarn back in and do that 5 times. And I layer or glaze the yarn with all the colors, and they create this variegated semi-solid color thing. So it's amazing for crocheting, and it's great for knitting, and you don't end up with like blocks of color, which I personally hate. I know there's lots of designers out there now doing controlled color pooling in their designs, and it's really sad that that's a thing, because yarn companies, especially for crocheters, ready to just toss this onto the list. Yarn companies dye yarn for knitters, and for the ease of their machinery, they do not dye pretty yarns for crocheters generally. So I, as a crocheter before a knitter, I found that extraordinarily frustrating, that every time I got a gorgeous semi-solid yarn, not semi-solid, every time I got a gorgeous variegated yarn, it looked dreadful crocheted up. You end up with like little chocks, like 2 stitches and 2 stitches and 3 stitches and I hate that so much. It bugs me to pieces. So I decided, well, Chantel, fix the problem. So that's what I've done. Making notes for Kim's list later. Oh, thank you, Crochet Clock. I forgot Kim's not here. I've always wanted to learn how to glaze. Well, I will do another video. We're not going to do that today, but I'm planning on doing these dye streams once a month. On the second Thursday it is for me. I know some of you it's Wednesday night. But for the second Thursday of the month, we're going to do some dyeing. And sometimes it'll be the similar method, but different colors. In a way, it's going to sound really selfish, but it's a way to make sure I keep up on top of the dyeing for my business, because I quite often get sucked into other jobs. I'll get sucked into paperwork and ordering and things like that, and then I'll keep putting the dyeing off, and then I'll realize it's been 3 months since I put new yarn in the shop, and I don't want to do that anymore. So you guys are going to help to keep me, help to keep me accountable to make sure I have new yarn for the shop every month. Controlled color pooling is too frustrating. It really is. I think it's a lot of work because yarn companies can't be bothered to dye differently. I don't like the blocking that happens either. Does my head in. Yeah, me too. Andrea, glazing is where you have a yarn already a color, and then you add extra colors on top of it. So they're not soaking in as much, but they're going onto the outsides. So yeah, it's just another way. So if you guys hit my website and have a look at things like Barton, Colson, Tahiti, all the Marvel colors that I did, although you guys probably may not realize they're Marvel colors because I snuck the names in. But yeah, they're all glazed. Some are nice, but it depends on the pattern. Yeah, exactly right. So glazing is good for crocheters as long as you don't have long, like, you need your color repeats to be really short. You want to make sure that inside of your stitches they're getting every color for every stitch. So you want to glaze with a few colors. So yeah, and it'll depend. So you need to play with it and work out what works in your situation. So we're just going to let this stuff sit a bit longer. So I'm just reading the chat. Will you dye some extra of this color to sell? Absolutely, I will, for sure. I had some in the sunflower sock yarn that I sold at the Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show, and it was very popular. It was its first run out, and in my sway shawl that I'm doing, so if you guys have seen on Instagram how I'm doing a sway shawl, the tealy color there, that's actually quite a good photo of that. That is this color that I'm dyeing up here. So what color are you going to speckle with the same blue? I'm thinking of speckling a little bit with the same blue and then possibly just a little bit of darker blue. So this is more of a tealy green color. The pot's making it look very denim. It's not. It's a very tealy color, and I'll speckle with the teal dye, the powder dye that I used to make this. Plus I'm also going to add in a brighter blue and a darker blue. So it's going to be subtle. I'm not tossing yellow in or bright greens or anything like that. I just want to create some little specks of interest without going crazy, because, you know, I wear plain black for a reason. It's because I like to hide. Thank you for that, Jackie. Might need some of this for the sweater I'm designing. You may well. You may well. Oh, happy birthday month, August. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. It is my birthday month. And then September is Fiberific, the business's birthday month. It's a very, very busy time for birthdays. Something I wanted to talk about while I've got you here. Oh, I've got fluff. There we go. So I posted on Facebook yesterday that I'm off to the Gympie. I'll get the proper name. Make sure I'm hiding the page with all my personal details on it. The Gympie Spinners and Weavers 4th Annual Fibre Retreat. This in Queensland in Australia, so those of you that are local. There are 60 places for this particular camp. It is beautiful. I will read the piece of paper. You ready? Garapine, I think that's how you say it, has 3 separate accommodation chalets consisting of 4 open plan group rooms, each with its own ensuite. We'll be using the 7 bottom bunks per room. We have chosen this venue because of all of the activities are in a central location for spinning, dining facilities and the shops. There are 8 steps to the chalet accommodation, and we have a limited space for attendees with mobility issues. If you cannot handle stairs, please advise us on your camp application form. So it runs from the 5th of October to the 7th of October. There it is. The costs are $190 if you book before the 17th of August, or $195 if you book up to the 14th of September. There is a Saturday night fibre festival. They say please wear something you've made, for example sock, shirt, hat, scarf, brooch, etc. And please be prepared to give a summary and have it admired. You've got requirements, so basically, you know, bedding, what have you, payment details. So if you guys want a form for this, if you want to come on this awesome retreat, I personally will not be taking my shop. Oh, there's workshops. So I'll tell you about the workshops. Workshop 1 is a beginner colour work in the round. Bring a partially completed beanie and pattern, getting ready to work the colours section. So you get to pick what you want to do and they'll help you through. They'll work, they're going to work in the Elizabeth hat, a free 8-ply pattern from the Twisted Yarn blog. They've got all links to everything. The pattern is available through Ravelry, so probably actually do that one rather than bring your own. But work it before you go. Workshop 2 is a crochet rope bag. So you need a 6 or 8mm crochet hook, but everything else is supplied. There is a Ravelry Q&A, so all your Ravelry questions are answered. I should point out this is not official Ravelry. There's no one from Ravelry at this event. Workshop 4 is natural dyeing, eco printing silk scarf workshop with Simone Cross from Gum Blossom Yarns. I've put my name down for that one because Simone is amazing and so lovely. If you haven't checked out her stuff, go and check out Gum Blossom Yarns. It's gorgeous. That one's a $20 cost, but that's for all your supplies. And workshop 4 is a 4-shaft loom warping demonstration. And then workshop 5 is a felted double bowl with roz. So many workshops you can choose when you sign up. If anyone wants a form, you can either hit the Gympie Spinners and Weavers group on Facebook, or just send me a PM and I'll forward your form. These are nearly ready. Yeah, the camp sounds like so much fun. The $190 or $195 includes all your accommodation, all your food. They generally feed you like a ridiculous number of times a day. You get breakfast and morning tea and lunch and afternoon tea and dinner and sometimes even supper. I haven't been to a camp in a really long time I used to go all the time with the business. I would take a Fiberific stall to all the camps, and I was just getting a little bit burnt out. And then I stopped going, and this is my first camp probably in 2 years, and I'm just going as me. I'm taking my chair, my spinning wheel, my knitting, and some crochet, so I've got a few different projects to choose from. I'm going to sit back, I'm going to chat with people, I'm going to drink coffee and relax. That's my plan. It's a social weekend for me, so come on and have fun. Oh yeah, if you're not in Australia, it's going to work out really dear to come, but if you are in Queensland, you should totally have a look into it. Kirby's got a question. How does doing a light grey or black undertone make colours stand out more? Is it because cream base whitens it out more? So generally colour needs to be layered to create depth, and if you have a white yarn and then just dye over it, it will still be lovely. Don't get me wrong, because that's what I'm doing here. It will be lovely. But if you want to create a really awesome rich jewel tone that's got that hint of dark to it, I would under dye grey first and let the colour sit on top of it, so it's nearly like, I'm going to say it's nearly like it's reflecting. It's not, but that's kind of the feel you get. So if you have a nice grey base, now the trick is you want to make sure that your base colour is a colour you like, because generally sometimes you will see it as well. So you've got to just double check that. But yeah, it creates depth to your colours. Maximum Yarnage is in LA. Where's everyone else from? So there's Oklahoma. Yeah, we're in Australia, mate. I'm in Queensland, so the Sunshine State, where Dream World and Movie World and all that sort of stuff is. Lots of people from the US in this group though, heaps of people. Mel's in Melbourne, there's Oklahoma, there's Canberra, Sydney. We've got people from all over. That's one of the amazing things about YouTube, is I get to talk to all of you guys from all over the world and all over the country, and even people down the road, all at the same time. And I love it. I really enjoy this a lot. Can you tell? Natalie says, I've been here since the start, but I've just had it on in the background, and she's in New South Wales. Nerdy Crafter has come back from making her brownies. Wow. Yeah, I like brownies. Brownies are good. Chintamani lives 45 minutes away from me. Yep. She's been to visit a couple of times. Alright, what I'm going to do, because I'm going to be a cheetah eater, I'm actually just going to pop a couple of these pots on the ground just to get them out of the way, because I need the heat plates for the speckling. Actually, I could probably just get away with one. Have a sip of coffee while I have a look. Natalie's in Wagga Wagga. Natalie, I basically drive through, well, not quite. Do I drive through Wagga Wagga when I go to Bendigo? I don't know if I do. I think I might go around it. Part of the down the road crowd here. Yeah. Oh, don't put your coffee cup on your dye spoons. I don't recommend that. Adele's from the UK. So many people from all over. I love it so much, you guys. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you haven't thumbs up, please thumbs up. All these things help, and they don't cost you anything to do, and it means that I can do this sort of stuff more often, and YouTube are nicer to me. Because while it's horrible to say, YouTube care about views and they care about subscriber numbers, although they try to make out that we shouldn't. But we kind of have to if that's how they're judging us. No, you go through Narrandera. Yes, I do. Yes. Oh, thank you. Right. All right. So I'm about an hour away. So you could get in your car and meet me at Narrandera for a coffee when I go through. Or you could just meet me at Bendigo like you did last year. The chickens are just ripping the crap out of everything here. Honestly, they're like on a rampage. They're like angry chickens. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. Okay. I'm just going to... Because I've got pavers on the ground, guys. I do not recommend putting hot pots on your benches or on the flooring in your house. I don't recommend it, but because I'm outside on my back patio watching angry chickens, like they're literally just outside the patio in front of me, like just, it's very funny. So I'm going to pop these onto the thing. Now, I'm not sure if you can see, I'll probably be better off using this spoon. but the water is now clear. The yarn has soaked up all the dye. And I'll get some photos. Oh, there we go. If I bring that up, that shows you way better. Oh, I'll just dribble on myself. Great. That's much closer to the real colour. Still not quite it, but much closer if you look in the big camera. This here. This one. Oh, God. Okay. So, yeah, that's much closer to the real colour. But this water is now clear. The yarn has sucked up all the dye out of the pot, which is one of the big advantages to going soft colours and semi-solids rather than full colours, is because sometimes you've got to keep washing it and washing it to make sure that there's no runoff. But yes, don't put your hot dye pots on melty things, is what I'm trying to say. It's truly magic. It is like magic. It is. It's the acid reacting with the dye and the wool, and it sucks it in. Oh, I don't have to yell now. Turning these off is so much quieter. The acid that we made with our citric acid in the water with the dye mix has reacted with the heat and is absorbed by the yarn. So now I have colour fast yarn. This is not going to bleed. It's been sitting here for easily 20 minutes. Easily. I should have had a timer, but I did not. So at least 20 minutes at a moderate heat. You can see there's still no rolling going on. It's shaking because I'm shaking the table. But there's only the barest amount of steam coming off the water. So let's get speckling now. It's going to look smashing, but I need to warn you because it's going to make my voice muffled as well. I'm speckling with my powder dyes. Therefore, I will be wearing my schmexy mask. It's stunning. And, but I will make sure that I do not die. I don't like dying. The thought of dying, of actual death. I love you guys, but I'm not willing to risk my personal safety to make beautiful videos. So let me just get these down. So these weigh a lot now because they've got 15 litres of water in them. Oh, yes, tough. I'm tough. I'm going to leave this one here so we can always see it before. Raw. Pan. Please do not fall everywhere. That would be great. So now we have it's a shallow pan. I'm a cheapskate. Therefore I have pans from IKEA. I actually think a slightly bigger pan and a slightly larger burner would be awesome, and I'm saving up. But at the moment, this is what I have, and so this is what I shall use. You might need to secure your chickens. They seem to be in danger of being eaten. Yeah, no, they're right. Let's not do that. Yeah, death is bad. I agree. Oh my God, I need to realize what the title of the video was after I asked what the ply was. It's fine. Don't even worry about it, Sally. I didn't even realize as well. So you guys know each other? Is that what I'm seeing here between Jackie and Natalie? Where are we? There's no laundry to do when you're dead. That's actually a very, very valid point. Very valid point. Maximum Yarnage does hers with these pans as well, or with IKEA stuff. Fresh eggs are great, but cooked chickens taste better. Yeah, these chickens are a bit scrawny though. Like, I would have to eat them all. It would go viral, death while dying, just saying. Well, you know, not that keen to go viral, if truth be told. People would watch me and write nasty comments. That's one thing I'm very happy about. I'll share now while I have a little standing break. Is the community that you guys have created around this channel is so friendly. I've got another friend with another channel, and I've read some of the comments people have written on her channel, on her videos, and I'm horrified and disgusted that people in the crafting community would write this stuff. And maybe that's not all people in the crafting community, but I know some of them are. And I don't get that. I mean, for a start, very different types of channels, very different styles, but still craft. And I love that you guys are so, you're cheeky and quirky, but that's me as well. And so I have no issues with that. But there's no animosity. There's no nastiness. There's no... I nearly didn't start my YouTube channel because I thought the fat shaming thing would totally come out like instantly. And that was the impression I was given by people around me. Don't do it because you won't be able to cope with that. I started it anyway because I'm like, no, I'm a big girl, I can delete those comments. And I haven't had to. Like, I've had a couple over 2 years, and by a couple I mean literally 2. And I'm so grateful that you guys are just awesome. And you're fun, and I love reading comments, and I love replying to them, and I love live chatting because you're all so lovely. Even Freaky Geek, even Freaky Greek. Hang on. So I've just had to, there we go. But yeah, it is awesome. So, yeah. Sorry. I always do that, don't I? I have a little Momo in the video. Let's get some water in here. I have another bucket of just some fresh water. It's the overflow bucket. It's the bucket that I overflowed the kitchen with because I knew I needed water for these. I just got to grab a fresh thingy like this. Okay, I have my Schmexy mask, which I'll put on in a second. In the meantime, I'll just get the water going because we just want enough water so the yarn doesn't burn. We're going to create a steam bath. I've got another one of these trays I'll pop on as a lid. So those of you that have been here before, you will have seen it. I can go over there, move this bucket back out of the way. Now I'm just going to, because I'm totally not organised, I've just got to grab the yarns I'm going to, the dyes I'm going to speckle with. So just bear with me for 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, one thing I will do, pop the heat on. Glove. I've got the teal. Okay, dyes. I'm going to speckle with turquoise, brilliant blue, and just some teal, leftover teal that I used before I made my other mix. So there we go. That's off. Let's not put things on the element even though it's off. Alright, now I'll get the yarn in first. I would love to do live chats, but I'm also afraid of fracture. Well, do you know what? You should do them and tell us you're doing them, and we'll come and watch yours because none of us seem to do it, and I love it. People tend to be more horrible when they don't have to put their name and face on it. You're totally right, Mel. When they think that it's more anonymous, they're more likely to be nasty. Although some of these people have what appears to be a proper name. So yeah, it's easy to be a pooster. Yes, it is. Lots of these chats really rolling today, you guys. Keyboard warriors is what I call them. Absolutely, totally. Those people are not our people, and it makes me sad to think of dealing with that type of people. Agreed. All right, so I'm going to be adding just a smidgy bit of citric acid to the water. So it's about half a tablespoon, not the huge tablespoon, but about half. And I'm just going to mix that in. I do want this water to get, oh yeah, it's getting warm. I learned from the last dye stream, don't put the dye in, don't put the yarn in and expect it to warm up after the yarn's in. If the yarn's cold, it takes forever. So we're just I'm just mixing in the citric acid just to make sure there's no lumpy bits. Sorry about the noise. Alright, that is done. Now I've got 3 skeins and I'm going to pop them in. Because there's no dye already in here, we're going to just speckle straight onto it. I don't have to try and put them in at the same time like I did for some of those videos for the last dye stream. I can actually just take a bit more time and place them a bit more carefully. Think about where I want to place the speckles. Excuse me, because I only speckle one side so that you still get a lot of the original colour, but with just some speckling through it, so it's not chaos. So that's how I like to do it. Everyone is different. Jolene says, well, crap, I think I missed something. I think you may have as well. Jolene, we have over dyed some yarn in a beautiful teal colour. Now we're about to speckle it. or under-dyed yarn rather than over-dyed it. So yeah, are you dyeing your hair today, Kim? Kim is at she's at a thing for her son, and then she's got another appointment which may well be a haircut, but I'm not sure. Pip and Poppycock says, I took the step going live. So far so good, and I love the crochet community. Pip and Poppycock has a live stream. I can't remember the time. Is it 10 o'clock as well, my time? So I know that It's Crochet Clock had hers yesterday at 10 o'clock. I have mine today at 10 o'clock. I know Claire will do hers Monday, Australian time at 10 o'clock. And I know Pip and Poppycock is doing one now as well. So we've got all these live streams. It's so great. I'm loving it. I'm totally loving it. So I think it's Sunday. So Sunday. And is that your Sunday or my Sunday is the question? Because if it's your Sunday, then that's my Monday. Just saying. Hers is on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what Eastern is. I'll have to look it up. Anyway, I don't know why my phone's doing that. Stop that. Thank you. I want that. All right, we need yarn in this pan. That's warm enough. All right, I'm just digging yarn out of the buckets. All right, so first skein. I like to give it a little shake just to open it out a little. And also, sounds bizarre, but I like to move my little tie. Now, if I was only going to be dyeing this for a particular thing, I probably would have moved them at some stage beforehand. Oops, sorry camera. And then I just give it a little fold in half, just so I can lay it into the pan a bit easier. And I can control that. I'm like, right, I need to speckle on some of those little paler sections. And then I need to also remember, I got to fit 3 in, not 2. So I need to make enough room for 3. Sorry, I got to keep talking when I'm down here because it looks like I've disappeared, doesn't it? Okay, and again, open it out, move the doobie, what's it, give it a little shake, fold it in half, and put it in the water. Make sure there's enough room for the last one. Now I'm just going to give it a smidge more water in there, the yarn's soaking it up a bit. Where's my thing? Sorry guys. Sometimes it's a bit of an eyeball job. You've just got to double check things. You do not want to burn your yarn after all the effort. 5 a.m. Monday for US and... Oh, Kim's back. Hi, Kim. That's what I love about our chat community. Fiberific Crochet Clock. Can always count on them to bring a smile to my face when I'm feeling down. And we look out for each other. We totally do. We are all yarn crafters who love yarn. Why do we have to be mean to each other about stuff? That's what I want to know. Alright. Now, I will not throw away the water in that pot that I'm getting these out of because I want to dye more of this yarn. So, I will totally just reuse it. Also, the dye is exhausted. So, there's nothing left in there to be trashed. Now you can hear that sizzling. That's not a good sound. We want a bit more water so that we're not cooking our yarn. But we also don't want to drown it because we want the speckles to sit on the top and speckle, not wash through. So you've got to watch it. You want to make sure that the top section sort of, I mean it's moist, but it's not underwater is what I'm trying to get at with the English language. Good luck, Chantel. Okay, now guys, I'm just going to move this bucket. It's time to go the full Darth Vader. Are you ready? Coffee, because I can't have coffee once I put this on. Are you ready? So good. I'm fogging up my glasses, but at least I'm not going to die. And because I'm really slack, I only speckle with the one hand, so I only put one glove on, and my gloves are dying. So as long as I can get a finger and a thumb with no holes, because I bought gloves like years ago and they're a bit cheap, and they're actually literally ripping apart as I put them on. They got left out, but see how I've got this that's covered in glove? As long as that happens, I'm happy. Let me read here. My hair won't be the same as Shanti's yarn. Nope. Alright. Colours. I'm going to start with just a gentle speckle. Now this is not science, you guys. I don't measure it out. I just eyeball it. So I've got a bit on here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it is speckling on very finely. And I try to make it pretty even across all 3 skeins, because I can see the lines of where they start and finish. And you start subtle, because if you go hard you can't go back, but if you start softly, I've got to turn this off a bit, I'm going a bit too slow for the heat. If you start softly you can always add more. So now I'm into turquoise. This will be a little bit brighter. This is a lot of the base that I use for sort of the Tiffany blue. Sorry, it's very hard to talk while this mask is on, so bear with me while I get this done. You can sort of see where it needs to go, and I'm being very subtle because I don't want this to take away from the design that I'm going to be wearing. It's got some stitch work happening at the top that's different. And while I want a slight difference, I don't want it to be glaring. So we're going totally subtle. Do you need to turn them over and do the other side? No, for this particular one, I won't be doing the other side. I just do the one side. And that's a way to spread out your speckles as well. I know a lot of people do turn their speckles over and do the other side. I don't, because I think you do need space for stitches to do their job. Okay, so get that lid on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a photo. See, this one's rubbish now. I'm totally going to just toss it straight in my little bin I've got down here. Oh, wow, it was really hot in that mask. I'm going to take a little photo and I'll post it up on Instagram a bit later. But camera, so it'll be clearer than what you guys are seeing now. There we go. I'll deal with that later. So go and check out the Fiberific Instagram after our feed and I'll get that up. So what I need to do now is these are not going to colour set because they're sitting on the top. They've got no heat. So what we need to do is pop the lid on, which, because these are IKEA roasting trays, they don't actually have proper lids. So I just stick another roasting tray on it. I'm going to move it over to this side so that it's not the one in the middle. And just pop the heat back on for 5 minutes. I'll be able to feel when the lid's hot. Again, I don't put it above 80. Pop it there and I'll just keep testing that to feel it, how it feels, to see how I like it. Because you don't want to scorch it and burn it. We know now it'll steam rather than boil. So we want to get some steam moving around it to get those speckles, and the speckles will melt and soak into the yarn a little bit. The other thing, oh, that looks ridiculous. The other thing is that when you speckle, you really do have to make sure you wash that yarn out really, really well, because otherwise the speckles may not totally absorb in, because you are literally putting dry dye with no extra citric acid on the top. You could do, but I find that that bit of extra citric acid in the water, there's already citric acid in the yarn, that's enough. I find if you put too much citric acid into your mix, it makes the yarn crunchy. That's probably not the best word, but it changes the feel of the yarn. Hope you don't have garlic breath. No, but I do have coffee breath. So that was terrible. Do we get to name this batch? Well, the actual 8-ply, like this color has already got a name, Lake, but we don't have a name for the lake with the speckles. So we will need to think of something lake-ish to go with the lake with the speckles. So you look like you had a tiara on. I thought it was a little crown. It was a party hat. Queen of Dying. Yeah, see, maximum yardage, I really do just make up words, and I don't know, it's hard to find a good descriptor sometimes. I've just got my hand on here just so I'm just watching it, so it's still cold down here, but it's getting quite warm here. Pip and Poppycock says, for your next dye stream, can I challenge you to a colour recipe, dye your yarn to the colours in the picture? Totally. You can send me one through, I can try. I'm pretty rubbish at that stuff, but I can certainly give it a whirl for you. That would be quite fun. So that'll be the second Tuesday in September, which I'll need to double check something, because that might actually be the Fiberific birthday party episode where I will sit with a cap on like a party hat. Or I might run an extra special dye stream on another day to have the party. I've got to decide. But yeah, September will be the next dye stream. Hey, Freaky Geek made it! So yeah, Jolene, we might wait until we see how it looks, because some of these guys have realized that how it looks here and then how it looks once it's washed and dry, totally different. But I do like the idea of Starry Lake, but I just don't know if it'll work. The dentist is finished as well, and Kim's finished. Can't wait to see the colors. Awesome. So I got some more skeins here that need color. What color should we dye them? Should we have a bit of glazing? Do you guys want to see me glaze something quickly? I've got no colors mixed up, but we can just knock something out. And with something we can name. How would you like? Would you like me to glaze some yarn so you can see that? So let me know in the chat if you want to see me glaze a yarn, an 8-ply. I don't normally do 8-ply in this way. I'm normally very boring with 8-ply and just semi-solid it. But, you know, this is fun. Let's do it for science. Yes to glazing. Welcome to the chat, Freaky Geek. Alright, so what I need to do is I'll need somewhere to pop this yarn. Oh, what am I saying? I've got an empty bucket. Hang on, I just need to move this other one down. Talk about a core workout, you guys. So 15 litres, what's that? Like 15 kilos? So let's go with that. 15 kilos lifting it from the ground up on the bench. Let's do that heaps of times. Did I miss this earlier? No, we haven't done any glazing. Oh, you might have missed the description of what glazing is, but you haven't missed us do any. So glazing is basically how I dye Coulson and all the other Marvel colours. Yeah, for science. I nearly forgot there is glazing other than donuts. Yes, there is glazing other than donuts. So let's get this, get that back up to heat. Let me think. What colours? What colours do we want? It's undyed at the moment. Let's have a look. So I've got all the colours. I'm going to have to mix everything because I don't have anything planned. So what do you think? Like a... We haven't done anything purple in a while. Maybe something with a bit of blue and a bit of pink. Because that's the other thing to remember, is the colours mixed together as well to make third and fourth colours. So, activate those core. Absolutely. Something bright. Yeah, totally we could do something bright. So, because what we're going to do is we under dye, like as in... use less dye than we need to create a saturated yarn. So each time you create a new layer of yarn, your pot pretty much goes back to clear, so we can keep using the same pot. This has already got acid in it, so I don't give it the whole tablespoon again, but I do give it a little top up between batches. Give it a little stir. Now I know it's looking just a smidge blue, but don't even worry about that. Seriously. If there was any colour coming out, it was coming out. Yellow and pink. All right, let's go yellow and pink. we'll end up with yellow bits and pink bits, and that sounds terrible, and also some peachy sections in different tones. So we can glaze with 2 colors for sure. We can also add in like extra types of pinks or extra types of yellows. I do tend to go color families, and saying that every now and again, just a splash of random color works really well. I probably wouldn't do yellow, peach and teal in this method, just because the teal, it might just destroy everything and go ick. Alright, so the trick with glazing, I have found, and as I've said in 11 billion videos, this is just how I do it. You try it your own way, you experiment, because you might find you like to do it the precise opposite to get how you want your colors. This is just how I generally do my colors, because I'm a damage control kind of person, so I want to make sure that if I trash it, I can try and retrieve it. So I tend to go lightest colors first, so that you can fix it with the darker colors if you're not happy, or put more of the lighter color in. So we're going to do 300 grams of the DK in here. Now there's a bit of this going on, so you're going to have a bit of movement, because when I'm doing this, I move the yarn in the pot to make sure we get as much color swooshed across everything as we can. Now I'm just thinking, I'm most used to doing my stuff with the landscapes than these, but we could give these. All right, I need my things. I need my thing, my breathing thing. I'm just going to quickly mix some dye, you guys, so talk amongst yourselves. Tell me when the pot's boiling. Coffee breath, awesome. Where are we? Pink, pale green and blue. I like that too. Okay. Yellow and pink. Should go hot fuchsia. Have that pink. Alright. I've got 1 yellow and 2 different kinds of pinks. I might turn that off now. That's just going to, this one here is just going to sit and steam for like, while we do this. It'll be fine, it's off heat now. Okay, so I'm going to go technical, you guys, technical. This is a one-off batch if you want these colors. It turned off for some reason. I'm not going to measure, because I don't have the small scales out here, and I would normally measure in grams for this, or 0.01 of a gram. So we just need little bits. Okay, I'm going to steal a bit of the warm water. Dye mixes better in warm water than cold water, FYI. Now, for those of you playing at home, I put in about 1/3 of a quarter of a teaspoon. And where's my doobie? Where's my finger? All right, 1/3 of a quarter of a teaspoon. Straight in. See how it's barely changing the water color? Yellow does that. That'll be deceptive. That is not a wee. I just need to point that out. I did not wee in there. Need to go to the doctor if I did. That's terrible. 1/3 of a quarter of a teaspoon, approximately. Okay. Okay, we've got our 300 grams of our 8-ply yarn. Open them out. Now, because we're trying to get these to match, as best as possible, we have to try and give them equal movement, equal time in the dye bath, that sort of thing, with space around them. So I tend to put them out of my fingers like this, just so that I can see where they're going after I get it in there. So in it goes, and then down into the water, and then I do this, and then I move the hook so that it gets good coverage on this first colour. So this is made a really pretty butter yellow on 3 skeins. And I move them around to try and get this first one just a little bit covered. So we don't have any white. We don't want white when we're glazing, unless you want white and then put in less dye. So we've got our 3. They just need to set for just a minute. They'll suck in the last of that dye out of the water. Kind of hard to chase the bad guys. I'm glad I googled it. Speaking of science, I had a job interview tomorrow with Questacon for a job as a Smart Skills Inspirator. Is that, did I read that right? Inspirator sounds different. I started to make the legs, but I had to stop for this chat. Sweet, I did not miss all of the 5. No, you did not. We're going to just start one more. We're going to run a little long today, guys, but I'm okay with that if you are. It's a bit like milking a cow. It is a little bit like milking a cow. Now, one thing you do need is somewhere to pull the yarn out to, because we pull the yarn out to add in the next colour. So I've got another pan here. I often use a bucket, or if I'm really organised, have all the dyes measured out and I just lift it up and toss it in and stir it around and then put it back down again. Not that organised. Mask back on because I need to mix some pink. We're going to go with soft pink first, and then I've got some brighter pink to go over the top of it. That is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the pink, pink, pink. There we go. Now this pink does not like my water. Some pinks, some colours don't like different hardnesses, etc. of water, and they get a bit panickety. So I actually have to use a fair bit of this pink. So I'm going to go half. So that's 1/4 of a teaspoon, you guys, just so you know. 1/4 of a teaspoon. And then I put the dye in before I put the water in because I'm special. Special me. Clever. Okay, then I'm not sure if you can see the dye is not quite mixed. There's a bit of a lump there. We want to make sure all that is mixed in. No surprises for Ron. It's really not, it's stuck there, isn't it? Come on. That's the downside of putting it into a damp jug. Alright. Dye is mixed. Let's get the yarn out. I like to leave as much water in the pot as possible, so I pull it out over a spoon. A bit of yellow still left in the pot. Normally I'd probably leave it just a smidge longer, but this is going to be like the pink that goes peach, so I'm okay with putting it out. So out that goes, in that goes. See if it stays in the water for a change. See how it went a little bit peach? It's okay because we knew it would. And then we've got the next layer of pink, which will be more pink. Okay, so this will just tone off parts of the yellow. And even if you think you've got total coverage, you won't have total coverage. We're using such diluted amounts of dye that there'll be chunks of yellow that hang out. And I just again move the hooks just to make sure, and then just let that sit for a minute. So that's doing that. While that's doing that, I'll quickly mix the next pink. Now our next pink, we want to be a bit more, we need it to lift it a bit more and be a bit more crazy. So I'm going with a hot fuchsia pink, which is insane. I'm insane for choosing hot fuchsia, I mean. And we need to mix some water in here. ideally you'd have another water source of warm water, but I'm outside and I don't have my kettle. Now this is where you're going to see it really pack its punch. Again, about 1/3 teaspoon, but this particular dye is insane. It looks like it glows in the dark. I swear to God, the yarn just about does if you just go full intensity on it. Hunting for a charger. Oh no! You can always watch back in the replay. Hot pink. Oh, you remember this pink? Yeah. It's that pink. It really looks like it glows. It's insane. It looks nearly yellow. Like it goes to the stage where it looks yellow on the outside. It does take a bit longer to mix in though. I've never watched a punch get packed before. Fair enough. Is that Pinkie Pie pink? No. Pinkie Pie pink makes this one look. Sorry, this one makes Pinkie Pie look pastel. I've got some yarn out in the sun I can go and grab that I did half strength with this stuff. That I don't know if I can sell because it's too pink. Okay. Move these. They won't melt there. Okay, so we've got some peachiness going on. We've still got lots of good yellow. This is a similar idea of how I came up with the honey blush colorway. If you've seen the honey blush in the DK. Similar, not the same, not quite the same. Now what I'm going to quickly do is, because I can see some nice color variation here, I'm just going to grab a pic for Instagram as well for later. Sorry guys. Camera. So that you can see what I'm seeing in the color variation and gradation. Okay, next. You're loving the colors? That pink, yeah, it is eye melting pink. I'm not kidding. This is going to change this yarn real hard. Are you ready? And then we split it out and we move it. And then we slide these around a little. And then we do it again. Because see how you've got a big splodge of yellow right where that was? While that's nice, it won't blend in real well. Now, do we want to put another yellow wash over the top to brighten it and lift it? Or are you happy with how it's looking? You guys can't see it very well in that camera. It's very subtle still. It's not hot yet. We can make it hot by leaving that in for a bit longer. But we can also add another wash of the yellow, but at a darker consistency to really brighten it up. Maximum, do you Instagram your yarn after it dries? That's what I really want to see. Some of it we do, yeah, totally. Some of it's up there for sure. I'm covering my beard. Your mouth is agape. Is that in a good way or a bad way? I'm not normally a pink person, but I love that pink. It looks kind of peach. Yeah. There are definite sections of peach when you mix yellow and pink together. It's very hard unless you laid them in a pan and poured the yarn, direct pouring method. When you're doing the glazing, like this style of glazing, it's very difficult to stop them from mixing it all, so you do get a peach. It's off the heat. Crochet O'Clock, I turned the heat off it, so it's literally just having a steam now. It's warm, but it's not going to melt the plastic. Make it pop. Alright, I'm going to because that just needs a second in here. So see, it looks really pink, but when you pull it out, it's very much more peachy with pink sections. So you can see, hang on, I'll see if I can pull up one of these. Don't know if the camera will bring up the color changes very well, but there's definite pinks, definite peaches, and some yellow. So I'm going to go and grab this pink that I did the half grade pink. It's just here, it keeps glaring at me. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, you ready? It's quite bright. You might need sunglasses. But this is this pink at half strength. It's insane. I swear to God, it glows. The sunlight bounces off it. It's very bright. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, honestly. I'll put it in the shop and I'll see what happens. But that is exceptional. I had to get it off the camera because it was making the camera sad. So I think personally, some nice bright yellow over the top will just give it a bit of punch. Yeah, 80 neon, totally. It's amazing how the colors just, it is. I really like how the colors go. So, and then like you can make, I'm making this one pastel-y, but if you want to make it brighter, instead of a third of a teaspoon, you put it half a teaspoon, or a third of a quarter of a teaspoon. But you've just got, it depends on the dyes that you use, and it depends on the brightness of yarn that you want. But as I said, it's easier to go darker after you've gone light than it is to go light after you've gone dark. So personally, I would add another layer of yellow and another layer of pink to this. So I'm just going to check to see if I've got a bright yellow. What was that one? Yep, okay. I just need some water. So I know that that looks very pink, but as I said, it doesn't matter. We're going over the top. So we went a third of a teaspoon of the yellow before. I'm going to use a third of a quarter. I'm going to use a half of a quarter this time. We're going to layer this up and make it scream like a little cry girl. So back with the mask on. I'm not sure if you can see. Pink speckles on that would look fab. Totally. Totally. Hot pink speckles straight over it with speckles of yellow. But we're going to, this is a bit of a glaze that we're going to keep working on here. Okay. It's like science for witches. And back in the pan it goes. Now you remember how we were talking about how sometimes your skeins get messy? In this particular method, they tend to get messier than others because you're moving it around more, you're lifting it, you're doing all sorts of stuff with it. And as you add more dye, it takes longer to exhaust because the yarn has already taken up dye. Now why is that catching? Sorry, sometimes when they catch I want to work it out and fix it so that I can have full, there we go. I just hit the camera. So another batch of yellow over the top. You think my arms would be smaller doing this all the time, wouldn't you? But no is the answer. No. I think I like the bright pink. Yeah, we're going to add some more pink over the top of this, don't you worry. And then when it dries, you will see little bits of like all the different colour mashes together. Hard to see while it's wet, but once it's dry, you'll really see it. Dr. Fiberific is in the house. And then what we're going to do, we're just going to let this sit. I'm just going to get that heat up just a little bit more. So the other thing is, if you want the colour to strike faster, a smidge more heat, a smidge more acid. So for the next layer of pink, I'm going to increase the heat a little bit. I'm going to pop a bit more of the citric acid in, and then I'm going to toss in a bit more of that eye melting pink, and it will strike better. So yeah, so and the different colours react differently depending on your heat, your humidity, the heat of the water, the hardness of your water. So many different variations in your own home or your own place that you're going to dye that you have to keep in mind, which is why you can't get exact colours of some people sometimes. Not that you want to be trying, but you know, even art students copy the great ones to make sure they learn the techniques, and then they go off and do their own thing. The acid makes the colour hold fast. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I keep hearing the theme song from Weird Science in my head. She blinded me with science. There's a cord or something from the overhead camera. Oh, sorry. It's the power for the light. There you go. It should be enough to last us a bit longer. I wonder if I increase this light up a little bit, if you can see the colours better. Wow, I didn't even think of doing that. Let's just increase the brightness of the light. Andrea, that's keeping us from swan diving. Alright, so let's have a sip of my coffee. My ice cold coffee. Sorry about that, guys. I forgot. I meant to turn it up, but I was charging it. Alright. So we've got a bit more of a... It's got a bit more orange to it. The yellow's really picked up a lot of that pink. Now we're going to get this out. I know it looks very solid to you guys in this camera, but it's very much not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take another photo for Instagram so you can see what happened in the next layer. Because it helps for you guys to be able to see what I see. Also, it's really hard to unlock your phone with a wet finger. There you go. Alright, that's doing that. Now we're going to add more pink because we're going to make it pop a little bit. So when glazing, like in this particular method, the colours blend together. It's not playing. Go to 100. The colours blend together and they are more subtle, so you don't get those hard lines of colour unless you have high heat and high acid and the colour's just striking really fast, which I do that sometimes, but we're not doing in this particular instance. Are you using zip ties? Yes, I am. I'm very not. I thought they were sock hangers. No, I've learnt. I used to use cotton threads and they just were so hard to find in the water. I would spend ages looking for the hanger. Now I use the zip ties and it's just like bam, got them, because I don't tend to dye very dark very often. Okay, I'm gonna go back in. You ready? I need some water. Now what we're going to do is we're going to really pump up the acid as well. Don't forget, we want this pink to strike hard. So we're pumping up the heat. We're pumping up the acid. There is only a tablespoon more that I put in there, but I hadn't. It keeps turning, this element keeps turning off, so I've just got it on ridiculously hot just to try and get it up, get the temperature up a bit. There we go, it's starting to get up there. I won't leave it on this temperature, I'll drop it back down, so don't panic. I thought, where are we? It's so prettiful. I'm ready partying that word. That's better. Oh, you're gonna have to start using Totally use Instagram. It's so fun. I love Instagram so much. Let's have a feel. This water is heating up nicely. So yeah, temperature makes a big difference. If you want it to be subtle and smooth and gradual, lower temperature, longer time. If you want like bam bit of colour here, bam bit of colour there, high temperature, lower amount of time. No one tells Sean. I know, I already said, Andrea, that if we were going to do this extra one, it was going to send us over. Don't panic. And then I'll take the lid off here and we can have a look and see how that's gone as well. Andrea would be proud of us. Kim would be proud of us on our first day. You guys are doing great. I got 20 to 10 here, Andrea. It's not that late. Okay. That temperature's getting up there because I want the pink to strike hard. So we do get some sort of bits. So I'm going to mix the pink, which I didn't do before, even though I said I was going to because I got sidetracked. Whisk, whisk, whisk. Also, so just, I'm not sure if I need to say this or not, but I do not use any of these utensils for food for my family. These are dyeing tools. The pots are no longer able to be used for humans. The whisk, the spoons, I buy all these separately. And these jugs, everything, nothing can be used for human usage again. Not safe. Would rather not kill my family, although there are times when I think, that's annoying. Got a bit of dye stuck in the edge of the jug, I'm just getting out. There we go. Okay. I'm getting some good heat here. Getting it up there. We're just waiting for it just to get that little bit hotter. It probably could have done with a bit more heat from the start if I'm going to be truthful. The mods are doing a great job, you guys. There are all new mods in here, so thank you so much, mods. Yay, extra long chat. Loving it. I always feel bad, you guys, about going long. I really do. Like, not so much in the dye ones, but I already feel like I'm taking so much of your time. But I also know you wouldn't be here if you didn't want to be. No one's got a gun to your head, I really hope. If they do, you need to let me know. I've got some people to pay. Alright. Let's get these in. Okay, you ready? Let's see how it goes. Is it hot enough? Yeah, that's hot enough. That's going to be great. And once I get the yarn in, I'll turn the temperature down. Then we need to move this around a smidge, otherwise there's going to be a big harsh orange bit. Which, if you want a big harsh orange bit, that's fine. But I kind of don't. Alright, in they go. You cannot see what I can see here because that camera is not doing its job. Actually, it is. It's doing its job. But you can't see the colour variation. In that was... Hang on. Camera... No, camera, Chantel. Camera. The button with the camera on it. Try not to drop your phone into the pot of steaming water. There we go. It's not the greatest, but it'll do. So you can see. Can you see? You can't see. I can see. I can see the differences in the colours here. There's bits where there's just pink, and there's bits where there's orange, and there's bits where there's, you know, not pink. But that just needs to sit now because it needs, the colours haven't had, all the other colours have not had their time to colour set. It does need 20 minutes of continuous heat. Not this heat, that's insane. Let's drop that down before I accidentally boil it. The other thing is make sure we don't leave it on the bottom. We need to just use it around. So this is gentle colour glazing. These are not the hard colour glazes like what Malabrigo does. They do it a different style. That's a different kind of colour glazing. This is a soft, gentle version. I can shred zucchini for salsa and listen and watch at the same time. We are women. We can multitask. I'm the same. I think we're all the same. I think it's a crafter thing as well. Even men crafters can listen to an audiobook and craft. Yeah, you're glad I can see? Yeah, that's a bonus. That's a bonus. All right, do we want to see how this other one went? I'll move it up under the camera. Because this heat pad's also being a butt. I'll have to have a look into that. So that's going to get its 20 minutes, which I'll show photos later, you guys. All right. Let's have a look how our subtle speckling... Everything's subtle today, isn't it? That's unusual for me, isn't it? Normally it's like, let's go crazy and do hot pink and teal and all sorts of stuff. You ready? Drum roll, you guys. Soft speckles of bluey bits. You can see where they've captured, they've soaked into the yarn a little. They definitely need a wash. Got some photos that I can put up later so you can see it better. But you can see, hang on, let me get a spoon that's not covered in dye like my fingers. But when you push it down, you should have no dye coming into the what's left of the water in here. And it shouldn't be spreading. It should have done all that. See how this bit here is underwater and the dye is not spreading? So yeah. There's no dye in the water. Let me just squish some down just to see what happens. And tip that in there. No, there's no dye in that water, so that's all exhausted. It will still need a good wash, I'm sure. Some will come off in some spots, areas that are a bit higher up or lower. We'll get those washed, and we've got a beautiful day here in sunny Queensland today, so these should all be dry by this afternoon. So those of you on different time zones, when you wake up in the morning, there'll be new photos, and when the rest of us around dinner time, there'll be new photos. I missed something. Is Daigo sat? Oh, had a bit of blues. I'm sorry, Daigo. Andrea's happy with this. Jackie says, I'm not just knitting and watching, I'm working as well. My knitting is work as I'm knitting up my first sweat. Good call. I really like how this has come out. I'm very happy. I'll wait to judge before it dries because it'll dry lighter. That's the other thing. That's one of the problems with colour matching. You normally colour matching wet to dry, so you've got to allow for that. I find that the blue runs more when wringing out though. It does, and you have to allow for that. So I will watch it when I'm rinsing it to double check that I get it all out, because that's a pet peeve of mine, is if yarn runs. There are ways to stop it in the dyeing process, and if it's running, then something's happened. And I'm not saying that none of mine has ever run, I'm sure it has, because I'm also a human person. But you know, if something does go wrong, I'd like to know, because it might affect a whole batch and I need to warn people before they mix it with like white or something like that. I think so, but yeah. So you guys, we've run a bit over. This is, I'll pull this one back into camera, but this is looking really, really pretty. There's some nice soft pinks, there's some bright apricots, there's some, I didn't go as hard with the pink as I could. I think I'm a little gun shy. No idea why I'd be gun shy of that pink. So, and you could even go again with the pink. You can keep going until it stops absorbing dye. I like to do 4 or 5 layers at least to make sure you get a nice mix of the colors. But yeah, it's one of those things. So I'm going to, if you've got, does anyone have any more questions for me before I say see you later? Maximum Ray says, I had that happen and no idea what to do. So if you have color run happening and you're at home and you've got the yarn, or if you're a dyer and you don't know what to do, get it back into an acid heat. So back into the heat, back into acid, and let it color set some more, and it'll either exhaust out and leave dye in the water, and then you need to rinse and rinse and rinse. Salt helps if you make the water salty. It helps the dye to soak in. Try a few different things, but again, be gentle with the heat. You don't want to felt it, but at the same time, you need the heat to do the job of heat setting that dye. Can we keep going? No, can you not? My throat and voice is starting to go. I can feel it. I'm going to be rinsing these, hanging them out, and I'll get these photos we've already done up onto Instagram so we can see those, so you can see what I'm looking at. It's a bit hard sometimes with these cameras that don't quite show exactly what I can see. That's the big advantage of dyeing with natural light as well. It's very different than when you're dyeing under fluoro. And I'm sort of half natural, half lit, if that makes sense, but you've got to be able to see what you're doing. If we don't say bye, she won't leave. You guys are terrible. There is a question, can we watch the dye dry? No. Look, I could totally set you up a webcam. It would be as interesting as watching paint dry. I could set up a webcam on a stand with a laptop in front of the yarn rack. If you really want me to do that, I can do that. I'm sure YouTube would have issues because they normally prefer a person to be in the screen, or someone talking, because I wouldn't stand there to watch it dry. I'm sorry. I'm going to go off and knit or something. Fiberific on Insta, that's right. Fiberific on Insta, Twitter, everywhere, pretty much that I can think of. Pinterest, Facebook. Then there's the Fiberific Fun Zone where we continue our fun chats over there so they have all questions. Tried that. Tried that before, and the camera will stop. This is a webcam. I'm using a webcam here, and as long as you're streaming and using software like I'm using, it will continue. It won't stop. It will just keep going. It's like those space station lives. Yes, it's exactly like that. Pink champagne, tilt even. You guys are shockers. All right, I'm gonna head off. This is actually making me think of pink gin, by the way, just so you know. Pink gin in the pot. Yeah, there's birds on the roof now. Here come the darker colours. Don't cover the lighter colours completely by the glaze. Yeah, how come the dark colours don't cover the... Because I'm not using full strength. I'm using teeny amounts. So there's not enough dye in the pot to cover that much yarn. And that's why I do the little amounts and layer it and layer it and layer it, so that you always have that bit of colour change. So if you have a look at the colours like Colson and like Sif and Barton and Atlantis on the web store, you can see they're all done using this method, and you can, with practice, you can really keep doing it. It's really fun. Do we name the colours tonight or next week? Well, I'll see if they're dry. If you want it as a live stream, we'll do it next week. If you want to just do it from photos, we can do it from either Facebook or Instagram. But if you want to do it live, we'll do it next week in the video. El Grey Crochet, she's off. Thank you, El Grey Crochet. It was good having you in the dye stream. I'm sorry, Daigo. It's going to be a hard week for you, I think. I think it's going to be a hard week. So the second and third colours go straight into the white first. Yeah, it depends on how much dye you've put in. But yeah, that's generally how it works. So then you need to think about the colours that are coming after, if you want to increase the heat so they strike faster, or if you want to just leave it so they blend in. There'll always be variation and gradation. So that's the thing. The other thing to remember is, because you're not placing the colour like you would do if you were doing this way, like we did with this, where we did the direct pour, where we put, that could go anywhere. You could have a whole big pink section and not know it straight up. You could have a big yellow section, or all mottled. I'm going to sneeze, hang on. Oh goodness, sorry. Oh goodness me. Alright, you guys, I'm going to head off. You have fantastic days, and I will chat to you again. Don't forget that on Sunday or Monday, I can't work it out, but go and follow Pip and Poppycock's Facebook group, I am sure, and her YouTube channel. I'm sure you'll be notified when she goes live. Also, Claire goes live on Monday on Bob Wilson 123, so make sure you've subscribed and followed over there. And if you're not already following Crochet O'Clock, I don't know what your problem is, get over there and follow her as well. We all try to support each other and encourage each other, and I think it's really wonderful. So I encourage you guys to do the same. So you guys have a fantastic day. I'm looking for the mouse so I can hit the button. So you, Monday for me. Okay, alright. So it may clash with Claire. So I'll have to check, because I'm one of the mods for Claire. So I hate to say it, Pip and Poppycock, but if you clash, I've got to go to Claire's. She's at 10 AM Mondays for me. So yeah. Anyway, be good. Have fun. Dye some stuff. Bye.